Okay, we have a lot to get through today. This is a very long, very long, paragraph, but something to keep in mind as we're going through this. There's lots of ways to clarify things, especially if you're talking about like um, calling it a phrase or a clause, right? So, as we go through this, if you don't have the exact same thing, but you understand why I did it, then you're still good to go. Okay? A lot of English grammar isn't an exact science because, depending on how you're looking at, so for instance, the state of the world. Okay? This is the object of the sentence, but technically it has two different nouns, right? But you can treat it as one noun, as the object of the sentence, as the object clause. Yeah, and that makes perfect grammatical sense. So don't worry if you don't have the exact same thing, as long as you understand why I label the things the way I do. Starting with whenever, which is an adverb. Here it's an adverb of time, right? We've talked about time before. That's because this is modifying uh, the get. Next is I, which is both a pronoun as well as the object, uh, object of the sentence. Then we have get, which of course is the verb of the sentence, right? Since you're talking about a feeling, right? It is actually a stative verb. So let's put verb, boop, as a stative verb. And as a bonus, it's also irregular. It's because it's get and got. So it's an irregular verb. Gloomy. Gloomy is an adjective. And since it's not directly um, before or after I, and it's in the second half of the it's after the object, it's in the predicative. That makes it a predicative. A, DJ, and predicative. We'll talk about with in a future lecture, don't you worry. That's what we're going to talk about in this week's lecture. All right, the state of the world. Like I said, this is technically two different nouns. The state, uh, as in the being, how it is, and of the world. But you can treat this whole thing as the object of the sentence. So it's a regular noun. In this case, it's an object. Oh, why did I put object here? I'm sorry, this is subject. I'm assuming you all knew that, and I'm just being sub. And I'm just getting old. Okay, I is still the object. Gosh, I said it again. It's still the subject, right? And it's still a pronoun. Think. Think about. And here, it's actually a stative verb. So verb and s. Think about. We'll talk about in this week's lecture. Don't you worry about it. The arrivals gate. Now, this is a tricky one, right? Arrival is a noun. Gate is a noun, right? But this is modifying gate. So if you marked arrivals as an adjective, you're perfectly correct. Yes, it became an adjective because it's modifying gate. But you could treat this whole thing as one noun clause, right? That's perfectly fine, right? You can treat it as a noun. You can treat it as this is an adjective modifying this noun. Both are correct. Okay. When I think about the arrivals gate, you are another Object, right? At Heathrow Airport. Now you probably can tell from the capital letters, but these are actually proper nouns. There you go. They're proper nouns. They are the names of something. General opinion. So general is modifying the opinion. If you treated this as the subject, that's fine. General is, of course, an adjective. But as you can see, there's lots of ways to categorize these phrases. And it's attributive. So attributive. Opinion, all right? It is the subject of the sentence. Subjects, of course, nouns. Starting. So, this whole here, so this, of course, is a verb, right? You're starting to do something, right? Make out is also a verb. So again, it's one of those this modifying that kind of situations, right? But of course, if you wanted to categorize what they are types of stative verbs. State, or maybe the other way. Verb, stative. And then to make out, that's an infinitive. But of course, if you want to just treat these as a group together, right, you can do that. We. Okay. We. So this would be your indirect object. So it's another object. We. All right. Live. Live, of course, is a verb. Ooh, and this one's an action verb. In a world of hatred and greed. So world. So you can, again, treat this as a world of hatred and greed. You can treat this all as one object. You most certainly can do that. Or you can treat it independently as this is a noun, this is a noun, and this is a noun as well. Boom. Okay. So kind of just treat the whole thing as object. But I don't see that. So this one's kind of tricky, right? We already have a subject because we're talking about the general opinion. That's what the sentence about. However, these two little mini sentences have been spliced together thanks to this conjunction, but we'll talk a lot more about conjunctions in a future lecture. So this is another subject of its own clause. It's kind of starting the clause over. All right. Do is a verb, right? It's a verb of action. Verb action. But you might notice the not here. Even though they're combined together, this is actually an adverb of negativity. So adverb, negative. You can see how things start to get really boop, boop, boop. Oh, things start to get really close together. See, which of course is another verb, in this case, an action verb. Boom, boom, boom. Just to clarify, this do is an auxiliary verb, but I didn't ask you to check that. Now, see that, which is an object. Okay. It, subject. Ooh. Seems, which is a verb, but is also a stative verb. Seems to me, which is repeating the subject, right? Um, that love is another noun. Is everywhere. Boop, boop, boop. So is, you might remember, is actually a verb. In this case, stative verb. Is everywhere. So this one's a little tricky. What is everywhere modifying? What's everywhere changing? Right? Well, it's modifying love. That means this has to be an adjective. It is, right? It is an adjective. Remember, there can be adjectives of place. In this case, it's an adjective. It's a attributive. No, sorry, as a predicative. Okay. Often. Here is another adverb. Here is an adverb of frequency. If you look right here, adverb of frequency. So how often something happens. In this case, it is literally the word often. It is subject for it and verb for object, verb stative. Not, which is a negative adverb. Particularly, here is an adverb of manner. Dignified, which is an adjective. Or newsworthy. These are both predicative adjectives. Oop. Oop. ADJ. Yep. This stuff is hard for you. Don't worry, it's hard for every English speaker, even professors. Okay. But again, another conjunction. It is subject and verb, right? Just like last time. Verb. Oop. And also the verb is, which is stative. Always there. Okay. So what is the always modifying? Okay, this might be a little tricky. Think about it for a sec. What is always modifying? Right? In this case, it's modifying the is. It's actually talking about frequency. Okay? Right? 항상, always. So ADV, and it is talking about frequency again. Okay. Is always there. You use as the object. Boop, 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 boop. Now, this is one that is a little tricky. Fathers, sons, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, old friends. So, these are all nouns, as I hope you know. These are titles. If you wrote pronoun, I'm not going to count that as negative per se. They're not pronouns, but they're titles, which is used very similarly as pronouns. So you're not necessarily wrong. That's fine. Now, what are these? Well, these are explaining the it. They're defining the it. They're explaining the it. These are technically, indirect objects, right? They're talking back to the sorry, the subjects. They're talking back to the subject of the sentence. That's what the sentence is about. I know that's really confusing, but just think of what these are referring to, and what they're referring to is the it. Okay. When, which is another adverb, this one of time. When the planes, it's the subject, hit, verb, this one's an action verb. The Twin Towers, these are the objects, but as you probably noticed, they are also proper nouns. Hence why they're capitalized. Big T, big T. They are proper nouns. As far as this is a prepositional phrase. We'll talk about that in this week's lecture. As far as I know, I is a noun. So this clause is kind of separated from the rest of the sentence here. So we can get back to using I. As far as I know, know is a verb. And it's dative. None. This is actually none at all. So this is modifying the phone calls. It's saying what kind of phone calls. So none of them. So sorry. None is modifying. None of them were. So it's a adverb, a negative adverb. ADV, negative. Of the phone calls. So this is another subject. So we're into another clause again. From the people on board. So they are the object. People on board were messages of hate or revenge. So the people on board, again, you can count this as two separate nouns, so you can count this all as one noun phrase. That's fine. Were, if you remember, is actually the past tense, multiple of is. So were is actually a stative past tense verb. Verb, state. On board were messages. Here we got another object of hate or revenge. Again, you can count this as messages of hate and messages of revenge. So you count this all as one noun phrase, or you can count it as 1, 2, 3 separate nouns, right? If you wrote it either way, you are correct, right? Okay. They, right? Subject. Were, verb, stative. All. So, we've seen adverbs of negativity, right? All or none, sorry. So all here, again, they're talking about the were, right? They all were. So this is another adverb. Messages, right? These are objects of love. And you can count this all as one noun. Again, messages of love, or you can count it as two, right? If you, right? Subject. And also, it is a pronoun. Oh, I'm sorry, there was a they over here, wasn't there? Yep, that's a pronoun. Yeah. English is hard for everyone involved. If you look, verb, in this case, it is an action verb. It's something you're doing. For it, object, as well as a pronoun. Okay. These are way too close together. Let me move that out a bit. Sorry. So the I, another subject, and a pronoun, but the have is an auxiliary verb. Boop. Got is a nice regular verb, or sorry, this is an irregular verb. So got is irregular verb. Oh gosh, I need to go back and so I need to go back and modify those, don't I? This is an irregular verb, so verb I. I'm so sorry for all you sitting through this. Okay. Were, let's see, regular. Okay. No and new, so that's also irregular. Dash I. Okay. Where's some more verbs? It is. That's also a verb to be, irregular. Got some more verbs here. Live. That is a regular verb. Yay. Live, lived. All right. Start, starting, started. So that is irregular. Think, thought. It is irregular. Get. I already put that as irregular. Good, good. Okay. It is irregular. Okay, did I get them all? All right. Irregular, irregular, regular. Okay. I've got a. That's irregular. Okay. But I. Boop. And then got is another verb, irregular. A sneaky feeling. What's sneaky modifying? It's modifying the feeling. That makes it a adjective. And it is in the right place, so it is attributive. Feeling. It's the thing he's got. It's the object. You'll. So you will. So will is auxiliary, and it's making it future tense. You is a pronoun. You'll find. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. So find is a verb, find and found. So it is an irregular verb. Okay. That love. Okay, love is object. Something you found. Actually. And that is a adverb. The whole reason we did this is so we could have the love actually manner. Is verb. In this case, it's an irregular verb. All adverb around. Okay, that is an adjective. In this case, an adjective of place, an adjective in the predicative sense. Predicative. Okay. Oh my goodness, that was a lot. I hope this helped. Again, the idea is not to make it exact, right? Making it exact is not your goal. Instead, your goal is to know why. Why is this called a proper noun, right? Why did I mark this as an attributive adjective, general, and opinion as the subject? But you could also make all of this a noun phrase, general opinion, right, as one subject. As long as you understand why you can do both, it doesn't matter which one you did. Does that make sense? Okay. I will never put questions on there that will be that granular, especially since it's not actually important. In fact, the knowing both and the 3, 4 different ways you can write it is actually really, really good. Okay, that's it. All right. Okay, make sure you're putting the time, your class time in the subject line. That's something that's still required, always has been. Okay, that is it for feedback. Make sure to watch this week's lecture and get ready for the exam next week. All right, God bless. Bye bye.